I've been out and about over the last 2 weeks. I've probably knocked on around about 4,000 doors across the constituency locally, and it's quite interesting to see that people are recognising that there has been improvements in the local economy. And it's particularly pleasing this week that we've seen substantial falls in unemployment. It was also particularly good to see that the number of young people out of work and claiming benefits has halved since the last election. So we're making considerable progress, new jobs are being created, and there is a lot of vitality in the local economy. Now that we're seeing the economy starting to improve and new jobs being created, which is creating a lot of more security for people and their families, it is important that we start to see wages rise. There have been many local people who've been suffering because of the deepest, longest recession that this country has seen 4 or 5 years ago under the previous government. And we want to see wages rise, and we want to continue to build on the strong economic picture which is currently in place. Obviously, one of the biggest issues that have been preoccupying people has been the situation in Gaza, the conflict that's been going on there between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. Certainly very upsetting to see so many people killed and injured in Gaza. And the reality of that conflict, I think, is that the only option for both sides is for a viable two-state solution to be created between Israel and a viable Palestinian state. And for both sides to show restraint, Israel obviously having the right to defend itself against rocket attacks from Hamas, and a reflection of the legitimate long-term aspirations of the Palestinian people to have their own state. So I'm very pleased that as I speak today, there is a truce, I think a 5-day truce that has been agreed between Israel and Hamas, and I hope that truce turns into a long-lasting peace, and that both sides get back to the negotiating table, because the only viable option for both sides is to agree on a two-state solution. And I hope we get back on track on that as quickly as we can. The other situation, and I was actually discussing this with the new Bishop of Dudley the other day, was the situation in northern Iraq. I met with the Bishop of Dudley. We talked about a whole range of different issues affecting the local area as well as the wider world, and we both agreed very strongly that we needed a robust response to the plight of the Yazidi community in northern Iraq, under pressure from the forces of IS that are currently dominating large areas of northern Iraq, and we agreed that we need a robust humanitarian response to protect the interests of minority populations in northern Iraq. And I'm pleased to see that the government has been making a very positive contribution to humanitarian relief in that area, and we need to see more done to make sure that minority communities are protected in that area of northern Iraq. I've also been out campaigning over the last couple of weeks with Les Jones, who's the Conservative candidate for the by-election for the Police and Crime Commissioner for the West Midlands. Les Jones has got a very strong track record as a representative, having been the leader of Dudley Council and having been a councillor in Stourbridge for many years. Les is a man of great integrity and experience. He's been leader of Dudley Council. He sat on the West Midlands Police Authority, and obviously he was the candidate for Halesowen Rowley Regis constituency in the 2001 and 2005 elections. So he's got vast experience. I think he'd make a great police and crime commissioner when we need to be really focusing on what has been a really good track record over the last few years of getting crime down. Clearly lots of issues locally around antisocial behaviour that continue to need to be gripped, and I think Les would be a great person to continue the fight against crime.